Regarding that email that I sent to our alumni base earlier that I mentioned, I received some amazing responses to that opening email. One alumnus wrote about his career in renewable energy, inspired by his time here at HDS, and his belief that he can make a difference in the world by working in that field. Another, who's a rural parish priest in Italy, responded about his own organic farming practices as an everyday process of making a difference. Several people wrote about international service and missionary work. And I was amused and pleased that one alum replied that responding to my ideas or my request for feedback on values, vision, and action was much more enjoyable for him that afternoon than working at his job. But another person wrote about the idea of leading a life of action as opposed to a life where you do service as a break from your everyday life. And that's a really powerful thought, and I know it's something that the three of us have talked about before as well, and it's really captured in your stories. But I wanted to ask you both to maybe elaborate a little bit more about leading a life of action and as an activist.
Well, maybe in order to try and push this towards a dialogue rather than sequential monologues, when I listen to you talk about conflict resolution or working with people who at some level know they have to live in the same space and the same geography together, but have what feel like intractable conflicts and or are emerging from enormously fractured war experiences and are themselves wounded and suffering from those experiences. It feels to me like action includes being able to sit with people and to listen, being able to bring the relational self into some sort of dialogic engagement, being able to think about things in the way the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond in New Orleans talk about thinking outside of the box. Yeah. I feel like an enormous amount of institutional life. I talk about a lot of my work as an administrator as engaging me in administrivia. It's necessary administrivia. Yeah. There's a lot of it that has to be done. But in fact, it's very easy to just think inside the box, to say no to people when they want to do something new, to not take the time to, and if one has had the privilege of sitting in context with people who have are emerging from an armed conflict or living on the margins, you really see how people have to think outside the box. Yeah. And so for me, action is not always, it's movement interpersonally, it's movement intellectually, it's movement socio-emotionally, and then it's being able to contest the edges of the box and say, this is not always a box. The People's Institute do this little diagram of putting 9 dots on a page, and they ask you to connect those 9 dots without picking up your pen. Right. And you cannot believe how hard it is. I learned it once again this weekend when I did a workshop with my students. I've been to 10 of these, and I still have a hard time. I've done the exercise, and they tell me the trainers can't do it because we spend so much of our time looking at dots thinking they're boxes, when in fact nobody says make a box out of this. They just say connect the dots. So I think that for me, action is about being able to keep myself pushing the edges of the box and facilitate processes that tap into people's resources to move out of the box. And conflict resolution seems like a place where that really is a piece of what it's about.
Yeah, and part of what I think I hear you saying is there's a way in which, in conflict situations, people are really stuck in their box, their construction of a particular situation. Right. And it's unhelpful to bring your own box to that, kind of context. And there's a way in which this, we talk a lot in our work. There are all sorts of fancy, you know, words that we use and you hear in the scholarship and whatnot, complex, adaptive, emergent systems, and blah blah blah. You know,
Right.
but on some level, I think what this it means is, you know, these are very complex, messy situations, and as the action is a lot about trying to alter dynamics in some way that something new emerges. And it's like, you know, we often think of action as action with an agenda, action with a goal in mind, action, you know, driving for this objective or that objective. But I hear you saying, and it's my experience too, that a lot of this work is about sort of, there's almost a passive dimension to this work, or a stance of, I'm not quite sure what our agenda is here. You know, that there's a quality of that to the action in this kind of work, I find.
Right.
Thank you. We have a lot of students and alums here tonight, and some of them are in the process of thinking about their own paths and where that will take them after graduation. What advice do you have for current students and alums that are thinking about and dealing with their own sense of restlessness? What thoughts would you have for them?
I think I feel like one of the most important things is that you follow your passion. I think there's so much drawing us in so many different directions. This making your own fruit salad, for me, is an example of following your passion. I begin with the assumption that everybody's here at Harvard Divinity School because they have some kind of restlessness, and they come here with that in mind, and that we all share a desire for something more, or a belief that all are part of a larger humankind can be called into some sort of transformative struggles towards a more just and equitable world. So we need to engage each day, and we need to have the energy to stick with it. And it seems to me if you do something that you have a passion about, and you're able to walk alongside of other people and be connected, listen, be still, that we can together engage in what I like to think of as compassionate solidarity for and with each other. And that requires a deep curiosity, a constant willingness and interest in wanting to know more, and also having a passion about something.
I think this place produces interesting, you know, stories. I was talking with Susan Lawler about I'm not letting a cat out of the bag here, but the, you know, various short videos of alumni's, you know, post-graduation stories that they've assembled, and I've kind of looked at that list, and I'm just awed by the, you know, the incredible range and, you know, depth of things that alums are doing. So I expect, you know, there's a way in which people self-select into an environment like this, and are probably good at, you know, trusting their restlessness coming here and beyond. But, you know, that would be my advice, is, you know, that restlessness, I think, demands our considered attention. We can't follow every road in life, but it's also dangerous to think too much in terms of binaries. And I think the struggles that, you know, one might feel to try to join two topic areas or three, or, you know, 2 or 3 courses of action and whatever, that intersection is the place where you know, one can discover you know, what one's original contribution, you know, may be. And so you know, leaning into that struggle, that uneasiness, I think is a really generative thing. You know, many people find, even though it can feel very disorienting.